After being stranded, Garrett's initial act was to relieve himself into the reactor coolant, not from malice, but after 36 grueling hours of aimlessly wandering a decaying alien repair station where consoles flashed indecipherable errors and his comms remained unanswered, Garrett felt entitled. Hydration recycling was down, the coolant line hummed like a failing teapot, and possessed a subtly encouraging citrus scent, a surprise the Zarks surely wouldn't foresee. Diagnostics complete, he secured his gear and resumed his deliberate circuit of the North Maintenance Ring, still chewing the same dehydrated meat ration he had been gnawing on since yesterday. The synthesized food tasted like plastic steeped in salt water, but it delivered protein. Protein and time were now his most plentiful provisions. Garrett Lorne, certified shipboard mechanic, Class B hull engineer, and involuntary resident of Outpost 17 Beta, knew this place was intended as a vital, co-managed refueling station for 4 of the Galactic Accord's member species. Theoretically, a cross-species marvel, in reality, it was more corroded than an Earth scrapyard and more primitive than a Neolithic cave. Abandoned during evacuation, the Zark questioned if it was oversight or intentional. Updates were rare for temporary human repair contractors. The aliens, panicked by a long-range scanner anomaly, vanished within the hour. Their transports overflow with servers and vital biocore data, yet the tech-patching waste filtration in the shadows gets left behind. Garrett grumbled, passing a ransacked interface. Ripped off in haste, likely for imagined riches. He eyed the exposed wires. Faint, flickering power remained. The core held. Fusion reactors, volatile as they were, weren't self-destructive. If the reactor endured, there was hope. Reason the entire station had to be disintegrating unless it had been neglected for half a year or half a decade. Garrett ventured into the dilapidated hydroponics bay. The station's life support systems had once cultivated a vibrant sector. Well, relatively vibrant, now it was eerily silent overhead. Lights flickered erratically. Withered vines draped lifelessly over parched irrigation channels, and the odor was a bizarre mix of metallic tang and decaying seaweed. He paused for a prolonged moment, then approached the central environmental hub. The console's design was strikingly unconventional, but no stranger, he'd expertly maintained hybrid systems previously, common interface backup circuits, established during the Accordance Pact, simplified worldwide transport. He popped the panel using his combat knife. Inside, the wires drooped, resembled entrails, almost entirely incorrectly. Wired or corroded, somebody quickly modified it, perhaps redirecting air to a crucial location when evacuating, guessing no one would return. Thankfully, Garrett declared, your thermostat's almost functional. Exhausted, he dedicated the next few hours to meticulously splicing and rerouting, employing wire reclaimed from a broken door servo and connector line spools salvaged from the shuttle base wreckage. He completely overrode the core temperature regulator, enabling the hydro loop to draw from surrounding heat. Far from perfect, but circulation would resume. The moisture reclamator might even reactivate, signaling a return of the familiar hum, starting as a subtle tremor through the floor, then escalating, resonant and vibrant. The initial irrigation line shuddered to life, punctuated by a brief hiss. Of water erupted from a burst seam. Garrett couldn't help but grin. He calmly logged, station timestamp 167, Accord, standard, environmental subsystem nearing full restoration. Primary loop A6 operational. My solitary TED Talk concludes. Silence. He returned to the corridor, struck by the profound quiet. Earlier, the base echoed with shouts in various tongues, the stomp of boots and the whir of drones. Now only silence. The base wasn't merely broken, it was utterly forsaken. A mechanic's mind couldn't fathom forgotten. Machines simply malfunctioned, and Garrett had dedicated his life to mending those malfunctions. On level 3, he discovered a hidden storage room untouched by looters. Inside, spare circuit boards, a deactivated cleaning bot, 2 unopened ration crates, and 3 pristine canisters of purified air. A true treasure trove. He hauled the crates into a former transit hub, establishing a base camp. A panoramic viewport offered a tantalizing glimpse of the planet's shimmering silver-black surface. Upper atmosphere, Garrett leaned against the wall, quietly contemplating as a tempest gathered on the distant horizon. Lightning danced in ethereal trails. An unusual serenity washed over him. The station's functionality was irrelevant. No rescue awaited. The manifest lacked evacuation shuttles. No search parties would arrive. The Accord likely deemed it a financial burden, perhaps even intentionally abandoned. Yet, Garrett persisted. He was not defeated, not erased. Every component of this base held purpose. Just because the cosmos is indifferent doesn't negate the machine's relentless drive. He rose, empowered, armed with tools, and possessing ample time, alongside a substantial backlog of crucial tasks for the coming day. Commencing with the reactor room, Garrett remained sleepless that night, only dozing fitfully. The station, having grown significantly, groaned, expanding and contracting with temperature fluctuations, its metallic joints creaking and air hissing from unknown orifices, resembling cohabitation with an enormous asthmatic beast. Nevertheless, as the faint azure lights of the morning cycle illuminated, he, already standing, he secured the final wire coils into a makeshift belt and snapped his toolkit shut. If the core survived, only logistics mattered. If not, preventing a meltdown was the priority. Either outcome promised a busy morning. The reactor wing lay protected beneath 3 reinforced floors, beyond dual biometric locks, and a colossal blast door. The biometric systems were offline, powerless, and deserted. The door, however, stubbornly held, a formidable 10 inches of resilient composite. Armor plating crafted to endure orbital strikes held Garrett's gaze as he pondered, chewing jerky. He recalled a coolant inspection tunnel beneath, sealed by Zark's engineers due to the AOI's human scent misinterpretations, triggering breach alerts. Protein chains were the culprit, leading to the workaround, relocating humans topside. Classic. He retraced his steps to level -2, seeking the forgotten vent shaft, plunged into the claustrophobic tunnel, barely wide enough for a human frame, and coated in a viscous, battery acid-tinged grime. He was forced to slither forward, hauling his gear behind him. After roughly 20 meters, the passage opened into the reactor's lower chamber, and he found it. The core. It pulsed with a deep, uneasy thrum, its outer shell rimmed with faint, ominous lights. Temperature anomalies blazed red, redundant regulators were marked as offline. Power flickered in fail-safe mode. The entire facility was subsisting on less energy than a standard escape pod. Garrett crouched by the primary interface node, exposing alien wiring. Challenging, yet manageable. He meticulously charted the circuitry, pinpointing the fault to a decaying junction box. Bypassing it with salvaged thermocouple clamps from a defunct server hub, he mumbled, not for companionship, but to break the silence. Frozen junctions, offline. No wonder she's struggling. This isn't shielding, it's mere bubble prep and wishful thinking. He forced open the junction, redirecting its power to the thermocoupler, and began manually, stabilizing the core. Reactor lights pulsed, then shone brightly. The hum resonated. Alcove panels illuminated sequentially. Readouts refreshed dynamically. Energy recalibrated seamlessly. The station throbbed anew. Garrett slumped, exhaling deeply, observing the dim lights and unresponsive modules. However, the reactor, although strained, operated dependably. He retrieved his data pad, commenced meticulously documenting the restoration, not for readership, but as protocol for reviving dormant systems, delineating the past from the present. Subsystem diagnostics revealed airlocks secured yet unresponsive, gravity stabilizers struggling yet functioning. Long-range communications remained offline. Docking bay pressure sensors indicated abnormalities, yet their activities sparked anticipation in Garrett, fueling optimism as he exited the narrow space. Space was grimy yet vibrant. The base wasn't merely operational, it was surging with life. Over the subsequent 3 days, Garrett revived the water purifiers, ingeniously bypassed the fuel gauge, and revitalized the heating coils in the living quarters. He resurrected broken lights with hull fragment, sealed pressure breaches with derelict drone plating, and cannibalized 6 defunct consoles to resurrect a solitary functional one. He subsisted on chilled ration bars and slumbered in a hammock woven from wire mesh and fire-resistant fabric. His beard was becoming unruly and uneven, and his eyes were bloodshot. He felt revitalized, a sensation he hadn't experienced in ages. For once, he wasn't merely repairing the wreckage of others, but forging something novel, even if constructed from discarded materials. Then descended the drones. He unearthed the first within a forgotten storage room, inactive and lacking its leg assemblies. An S-class maintenance unit, crafted for vessel inspections. The device resembled an inverted horseshoe crab adorned with a crude flashlight. He hauled it out, repaired the power cell, and integrated its motor cortex into a testing circuit. It clicked once, then twice, and tentatively raised its head. "Welcome back," Garrett greeted, trust laced with caution. "I trust you're not feeling homicidal." The drone executed a meticulous scan, emitting a prolonged, affirmative tone. Satisfied, he dedicated the day to reviving 2 more drones. One, hampered by a fractured optics array, pirouetted erratically. The other, barely capable of hovering, chirped with delight whenever nearing Garrett. Affectionately, he christened them Lefty, Blip, and Torque. By the 4th day, they shadowed him through the corridors, carrying tools and components. He even tutored Torque to provide a steady light while he meticulously rewired the atmospheric scrubbers. Lefty mostly just stumbled around, but Blip cleverly learned to execute system diagnostics. It was preposterous, yet effective. The base wasn't merely a ruin, it had become a functioning machine once more, with Garrett as its vital core. The 5th day dawned with a subtle tremor, barely noticeable but sufficient to halt Garrett mid-bite as he scrutinized the comm tower's ceiling, where dust drifted languidly from a cracked vent. Torque spun rapidly, his gyro destabilized. Blip scurried under a nearby bench like a frightened creature as Garrett slowly finished chewing. His protein bar consumed, he cleansed his hands on his jumpsuit, then activated the makeshift terminal, cobbled together from a repurposed navigation console and a salvaged cafeteria wall panel. "Seismic log," he murmured. "Clean slate. No station alarms, no registered external events, no approaching vessels, and the planetary geology stable. Therefore, it originated internally." The tremor resonated deeply, almost like antiquated plumbing undergoing stress. But he detested unforeseen occurrences, especially not now, not amidst the unfolding circumstances. Casually humming, he accessed the base's blueprints. Most of the lower levels were still restricted, labeled as unreachable, likely broken and disregarded. The faint seismic tremor appeared to emanate from deep under sublevel 8. Garrett glanced at Blip. Field trip time. Sublevel 8 wasn't on any standard path. It meant detouring around a collapsed cargo shaft, traversing a vent passage that had obviously housed ravenous fungi, and forcing through a partially welded doorframe sealed long ago. Garrett was already there when he got to the hall. Even Blip stayed back, choosing to float nervously just beyond reach. Garrett advanced solo. The hallway's walls were charred, as if an electrical surge had erupted repeatedly for days. Subtle scrapes etched the floor, resembling drag marks or the tracks of an overloaded, wheeled contraption hauled hastily. The lights were utterly gone. No twitches, no hum, only blackness and the sharp tang of ozone. He switched on his shoulder lamp, illuminating the path ahead. The corridor spilled into a compact, boxy chamber. Here, terminals lay dormant, drone ports stood empty, and storage crates were absent. Only a hatch marred the floor, etched with the crude Zark script. He deciphered a word: quarantine. Garrett knelt, examining the sealed hatch. Its ancient magnetic locks were powerless. A low-frequency scan revealed no immediate danger, no recent tampering. However, the lock was undeniably fortified, an aftermarket modification. Someone had desperately wanted this sealed long after the base's abandonment. Garrett paused, contemplating his next move. Chuckled softly, "I'm a gearhead, not a guru." He yanked a microcutter from his belt, wedged it into the joint, and began to carve. The hatch sprang open with a last exhale of stale air. Cool, dead, and ancient. It was a drop shaft, perhaps 10 meters deep. He rappelled down using a line spool from the drone bay, touching down in what appeared to be a data repository. The chamber was crowded with obsidian monoliths, alien servers, vibrating with the faintest ghost of power. At the far end loomed a towering sealed cylinder, tethered to the floor by scores of. Garrett cautiously advanced. The cylinder wasn't mere storage. It was a heavily armored, reinforced pod, cradled in desiccated, cracked insulating gel. Its power cell was defunct, yet a faint line still siphoned energy from the station's core. He scrutinized the markings, unfamiliar except for triangular glyphs, pre-collapsed Zark military designations. Why conceal a military pod beneath a fuel depot, he questioned, and why maintain it? With all other options exhausted, he meticulously followed the intricate wiring, discovering numerous connections leading to shielded subsystems and concealed protocols previously unknown to him. Some vanished into the bulkhead behind the pod, in areas unmapped by the schematics. Momentarily contemplating activating the backup system, he opted against it and instead, cautiously, precisely severed the auxiliary power conduit, subsequently documenting the action with a timestamp and his unique identifier on his datapad. The pod went dark, plunging the chamber into near-total darkness. Whatever resided within would remain contained, at least for the time being. He returned to the upper levels. Garrett detoured back, ensuring the quake hadn't left obvious scars. Blip met him mid-stairs, chirping hopefully, a winged question. "No clue what we stumbled upon," Garrett confessed, "but it wasn't intended for us." He dedicated the evening to diverting power from the secured lower vault. The surged energy resurrected the forward comm dish from deep dormancy. It whirred and clicked, aligning after ages of stillness. A relic awakened, fractured amidst recalibration. Yet he salvaged it via components cannibalized from a decommissioned drone casing. The signal amplification proved moderately effective. He couldn't intercept Accord transmissions. However, a subtle pulse resonated, a fleeting ping, distinct from a distress beacon or typical communications. A 3-second burst echoing bi-minutely emanating beyond the fourth moon's orbit, devoid of encryption or identification. Garrett documented it, then declared to Blip, "Someone's out there." Garrett dedicated the subsequent 2 days to signal triangulation, employing the dish to meticulously scan the outer reaches. Moons reverberated pings off stellar detritus and derelict satellites, akin to a sightless man echolocating within a cavern. The endeavor proved agonizingly protracted. The unwavering signal, a consistent 3-second pulse with an unchanging delay, bore no discernible data, devoid of language, devoid of sound, a mere insistent beat. It whispered of either antiquated malfunction or deliberate surveillance, a notion Garrett found unsettling. Meticulously, he documented each ping into a continuous record, constructing a probability matrix of its provenance. The nexus of the pattern is centered on a long-forsaken mining installation, adrift within a waning orbit around. Over 10 years prior, Fourth Moon Accord registries marked it decommissioned. No former tenants claimed it during evacuation, implying zero transmissions. "Calling time," Garrett murmured, ascending to the main comms deck. He activated auxiliary power, finally doing what he'd delayed for 2 weeks, broadcasting a wide-spectrum signal into space. Not a plea for aid, too hopeful, no diplomacy attempted. His succinct, unambiguous message targeted whoever possessed. Pinging, unidentified transmitter, Accord Outpost 17 Beta's technician, Garrett Lawrence speaking. Station reactivated, signal detected, respond promptly or halt transmission. Drone activity compromised. He broadcasted across all primary frequencies, waiting for hours. Silence persisted. Then, abruptly, the ping ceased, vanished, not corrupted. Garrett paused for 6 more hours, then broke the silence directly. Lower vault containment disengaged. Acknowledge. What lies beneath? Untouched by me, nor do I intend to. Whatever fascination you hold, it's not mine. Silence again, yet dawn unveiled movement on the long-range scanner. A solitary blip, escalating to 3, then 7 vessels. No identifying signals, no discernible trajectory, merely a silent, unannounced convergence. Garrett stood in the main corridor, fixated on the monitor above his console. Not a rescue fleet, nor opportunistic scavengers. Too pristine, too synchronized. "They're targeting the vault," he muttered, mostly to himself, and initiated a command. As internal surveillance drones, Torque and Blip accelerated into action. Lefty impacted one wall, then rebounded against its counterpart. Garrett grinned, initiating lockdown on the refurbished bulkheads. He wouldn't engage in direct combat, a narrative for another time, but resistance would be significant. When the initial boarding party breached the station, illumination was subdued and the corridors were frigid. Automated servos emitted bizarre hums, diverting focus from pivotal zones while Blip emitted faint thermal signatures. Signatures obfuscated body scans. Lefty unleashed a torrent of black repair foam on the stairwell, causing 2 intruders to lose their footing and collide. Garrett repositioned to the vault shaft, hand on the dormant pod's manual reactivation switch, and a datapad displaying transmission logs. The lead intruder halted at the hatch, visor glowing ominously. Garrett remained resolute, declaring, "This domain is not yours." Spokes surging forward. Garrett reset a circuit, the pod vented, launching core wires into the wall. The system instantly overloaded. Containment failed. The pod was permanently deactivated. "You still don't grasp it," Garrett stated, confronting the figure. "You're clueless about its nature." The figure advanced, halting behind it. Blip jolted to life, unleashing a piercing, urgent distress signal, meticulously crafted to mimic a reactor meltdown. Emergency lights blazed as the boarding party scattered in disarray. The figure retreated, vanishing into the haze. Garrett abandoned the vault, sealing the shaft. Upon reaching the surface deck, the ships were already initiating their departure. No weapons discharged, no detonations. A silent, spectral withdrawal, as if some unseen force had irrevocably changed the situation. And the sheer absurdity of a solitary, unarmed figure facing a reactor core left them profoundly unnerved, more so than any arsenal. The following week, he meticulously reconstructed the vault, keeping it securely sealed. He severed all power lines, salvaged the wiring, and repurposed the space for tool storage. Transforming the forward dormitory into a thriving hydroponics lab, his food production, albeit gradual, proved consistently dependable. The drones proliferated, and Blip mastered diagnostic procedures independently. Finally, the station transmitted a signal once again. A mere ping, not a cry for help, simply a calm, repeating signal. This station is operational, restored, and ready. Crew 1, awaiting orders. Garrett perched on the lip of the newly cleared viewport, legs swinging idly above the grating. He wouldn't abandon it. Once lifeless, now it pulsed with energy, humming with purpose. A mechanic resurrected it, and perhaps, just perhaps, that was fulfillment enough.